Okay, a very good evening to one and all. And let us continue our lecture on the object of study. Perhaps this is the third lecture that we are continuing. So, in the previous two lectures, we have seen how Saussure was discussing the difficulty of deciding the object of study for a linguist or linguistics as such, and also how he was explaining that this language is a social phenomenon, and our what you call as our ability to speak is nothing but the social construction, and also it's a continuous process of evolution. That is what he stated, and of course he has taken the examples of other linguists also. We have discussed Whitney, who actually stated extreme to the extent of extremes that language is a social institution on par with all other social institutions, for which Saussure is not agreeing, but his statement that language is a social institution was taken by Saussure. And further, he says that his idea of actually this language articulation is taken from the German and also Latin words, which of course mean member, part, subdivision, or a sequence of things, etc. So, where he is trying to separate the spoken side of the language, that is the speech, which in other terms he calls as lang, and he says that spoken language, which is natural to man, but the faculty of constructing a language, that is a system of distinct signs corresponding to distinct ideas. So he says that it is not spoken language that is natural to man, but the faculty of constructing a language, that is how we construct the language, which is a social phenomenon, he says. Now, in the next paragraph of page number, what is the page number? 22. I am taking last but one paragraph where he is referring to another linguist who is Pierre-Paul Broca, who discovered the speech production center in brain, which is called as Broca's area. He is an anthropologist and also a doctor. So he is taking the example of Broca. The Broca's area. What is this Broca's area? Let us see. Broca discovered that the faculty of speech is localized in the third frontal convolution of the left hemisphere of the brain. So he is the one who pointed out that the faculty of speech, which is your ability to speak and also to your ability to understand the speech of others, is all due to one part of your brain that is located in the frontal convolution of the left hemisphere of the brain. So if you have the brain, this part, and the left side, to the frontal side, we have this, the brain neurons and all those things, which enable us, physiologically to speak as well as to understand the speech of others. Okay. I hope you are going through the text that I have already mailed you. Okay. So, this fact has been seized upon to justify regarding language as a natural endowment. So, Broca's area, the discovery of Broca's area actually, led many to believe that language is a natural phenomenon. But the same localization is known to hold for everything connected with language, including writing. So the problem Saussure here projecting is to think that, depending upon the Broca's area, if you think that language is a natural, endowment, there is another problem that Saussure is bringing out. He is saying all activities connected with language, including writing, are connected to this Broca's area. So, can we say that writing is also natural? If so, it should come without any training. So, you can easily understand the point behind it. Okay. Thus, what seems to be indicated when we take into consideration also the evidence from various forms of aphasia due to lesions in the centers of localization is. So he is trying to explain further how this presence of Broca's area is connected with other aspects of language, but not only with the aspect of speech, that is vocal. That the various disorders which affect the spoken language are interconnected in many ways with disorders affecting written language. So it is read, or it is identified in cases of aphasia, or you have agraphia. In actually, aphasia and agraphia are medical terms. Aphasia is the inability to understand or produce speech. That means you can't understand what others speak, and you cannot be able to produce speech on your own. That means you can't speak and you can't understand while others are speaking. This is aphasia. And agraphia is the loss of ability to write. So we can't write. This is agraphia. But when you see in many cases, the disorders that affect spoken language are also interconnected in many ways with disorders affecting written language also. Those who cannot speak may not be able to write also. And that in all cases of aphasia or agraphia, what is affected is not so much the ability to utter or inscribe this or that, but the ability to produce in any given mode signs corresponding to normal language. So, in aphasia and agraphia, we can note that a man or a woman will be affected not only to inscribe this or that, to write this something, etc., but the ability to produce in any given mode signs corresponding to natural language. Whatever it is, they cannot write. Natural language, you think that language is natural, then when this part of brain, that is Broca's area, get affected, people will undergo this agraphia and aphasia. This is Saussure is using it to justify that language is not a natural endowment. Okay, that is what, even spoken language. If so, if when the Broca's area is affected, why the agraphia is also being caused in the people who got aphasia? This is the question. I hope you understood. Saujanya or Lasi Chandrika, could you follow that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, what is he saying? See, Broca's area is, reveals us that people who lose the ability of speaking also lose the ability of writing. If you think that the language is a natural endowment, of course, if aphasia is caused, and why agraphia is caused, because agraphia is not a natural endowment, writing is not a natural endowment, we learn it, it is trained. So that is why he is trying to discriminate between these two. All this leads us to believe that, so Saussure is concluding, over and above the functioning of the various organs, there exists a more general faculty governing signs, which may be regarded as the linguistic faculty par excellence. So he says that it is not a natural endowment, but in our brain, there is, according to Saussure, a general faculty that governs our ability to understand signs. Okay, sign, 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 okay, which he calls as the linguistic faculty, linguistic faculty. So, by a different route, we are once again led to the same conclusion. So, this linguistic faculty, of course, is not a natural endowment. It is, of course, the language learning or language acquisition since the childhood is not a natural process. It is, of course, a construction and evolution. Children are from infancy get trained by the elders without knowing that that is a training. See, nowadays there is one mm, there is one discussion among learned circles that it is all everywhere that we are very busy in our mobile phones and we are not talking with each other, and now the modern mothers are also very much immersed in the mobile phones and not trying to talk with the kids, and they are only trying to look at the comics or Tom and Jerry shows etc. in TVs and mobiles, and they start talking like the characters in whatever they like in these mobile shows or TV shows. Why are they picking up that language? Because one-to-one interaction, say mother to a baby or father to baby or any grandparents are there etc., is missing these days, and of course that itself shows that language acquisition is a training which we give to the children, and it is not a natural endowment. Okay, so here we have to understand one thing. Sashur's point of view is to say that language faculty is not a natural endowment. For that, he has given many examples. And I also have given you one example from anthropology. And now the example from our contemporary scenario, where, of course, the doctors or even elders are telling that these days kids are not speaking from the very early, when they are supposed to speak. This is not because they have some problems with vocal organs etc., but they are not being there is no communication between the kid and other members in the family. That is where they are lacking. Their linguistic faculty is being um, in the backlog. They are not able to pick up when they start watching TV shows and then watching shows in mobiles etc. They're trying to imitate those characters rather than picking up our day-to-day language or communication as mother or father or elders are speaking in the house. Oh, finally, what he says is, finally, in support of giving linguistic structure pride of place in our study of language, there is this argument. Now, Shashur is coming back to the linguistic structure. He has stated that linguistic structure is what is the object of study for linguists or for linguistics. And now he says that in support of this, he is presenting an argument. What is that? Whether natural or not, the faculty of articulating words is put to use only by means of linguistic instrument created and provided by society. So let us keep aside the argument of whether language faculty is natural or not. He is saying that. Okay, then what we should take into consideration, he says that the faculty of articulating words is put to use only by means of the linguistic instrument created and provided by society. So, how it is coming to us, articulating words is coming to us through the means of linguistic instrument. Where is it available? Like other instruments, they are not available in the market. It is not made or manufactured anywhere. It is in the society created and of course provided by the society. Therefore, it is no absurdity to say that it is linguistic structure which gives language what unity it has. So, whatever unity that language has, in spite of all the variant or various factors or aspects that are involved, in the making of language, or what can I say, in the use of language, language learning, language acquisition, or usage of language, which you call as communication skills, etc. Of all this, Sajur is saying that linguistic structure has one kind of unity, undiscernible unity, where we may not be able to understand that unity, or our to the naked eye, to the superficial, at the superficial level, it is not understandable, or it is not evident. Sashur says that in spite of all the various factors involved in the language as such, as we have seen in the beginning paragraphs, the psychological, physiological, sociological, anthropological, etc., etc., all these, Sajur believes that language exhibits a kind of unity, a unique kind of unity, and that is what he says is the linguistic structure. Okay, then what is the linguistic structure in the second part? So with this, we have closed the first part, and let us come to the second part of the essay, where he's trying to define linguistic structure, its place among the facts of language. So, of course, according to Shashur, linguistic structure occupies the prima facie place, among all the facts of language. Now, he is trying to establish that with some kind of figures that are drawn there, diagrams also you can see in the text I have given you. Now, I think one of you can help me by reading the first paragraph.
In order to identify what role
A bit loudly.
In order to identify what role linguistic structure plays within the totality of language, we must consider the individual act of speech and trace what takes place in the speech circuit. This
Yeah,
act
here, of course, just a minute. Here he is talking about a speech circuit. See, speech circuit is a word of physics. Okay. So we have seen, I told you in the beginning that physics is also involved in language acquisition and articulating, or one-to-one communication, etc. Because the sound waves have to travel and reach the thought process of the other person, and then he should be able to hear also. If his auditory organs are not in a good condition, even if you talk, the other person cannot listen. So the sound waves, of course, should travel, and the other targeted person's auditory organs should be working. Then only he will be able to perceive the sounds through the thought process that occurs in his mind. This is psychological. Okay, so it is physical, psychological, physiological, and all these. So here he says that to understand the place of linguistic structure, first we have to trace out what takes place in the speech circuit. So to understand the importance of linguistic structure and its role in the totality of language. The totality of language means all the factors taken together in making a language faculty to work in a human being or among human beings. He says that we should know what is the individual act of speech, and what takes place in the speech circuit. Yes, continue.
This act requires at least two individuals. Without this minimum, the circuit would not be complete. Suppose then we have two people, A and B, talking to each other. The starting
Yes,
point.
enough. So, of course, this is the basic rule of communication. Even if you read communication skills and what is communication, etc., you will, you know that without two people, the dialogue cannot take place, because die itself is two. Monologue is different. One talking to oneself is monologue. Okay, whether it is a dramatic monologue, that is a different matter. But for a communication purpose, a dialogue, two people are always involved, are necessary. That is what he says, that at least two individuals. Without this minimum, the circuit would not be complete. So without two people, this circuit will not be complete. Suppose then we have two people. Now he has given you with a diagram. I hope you have the text, no? With a diagram, he is showing A, B, and then the lines, how they are actually coming from the mouth of A. Actually, that starts from the mind. Both it starts from, for A and B also, it starts from the mind. Mind to the, if it is a speaker, it is from mind to mouth. Okay. And then it travels to the ear of the other speaker, suppose A, and then to it is not to the ear but straight to the brain and then to the ear. And even if A speaks, his brain to mouth, and then it goes to the brain of the B and then to the ear. Okay, so he will understand and again he replies. So the starting point of the circuit is in the brain of one individual. So where is it? The starting point of one circuit is in the brain of one individual. For instance, where facts of consciousness, which we shall call concepts, are associated with representations of linguistic signs or sound patterns by means of which they may be expressed. So when I am talking, of course, it starts from my mind only. And this is all about the linguistic signs. When I talk, you are able to understand. And that means why? Because this language, this linguistic structure is familiar to me as well as to you. Now you can very well analyze why you find difficulty in understanding English. If you are used to my speech, my way of pronunciation, etc., but of English. But if you read, if you go to some other channels and watch news channels or any anchors, anchoring on the stage, etc., in different varied types of English, accents, different accents are there. You may not be able to catch it up at one go. If you listen to it at one time, you may not be able to understand. That is because you lack the familiarity of the way the speaker's accent is. So in the similar manner, if we belong to one linguistic community only, this communication or the speech circuit takes place. And the Sashur here in the second paragraph is explaining how that speech circuit works. And this is all due to the linguistic signs which are already there existing in our brain. So let us suppose that a given concept triggers in the brain a corresponding sound pattern. Okay, whatever we think of, we have to bring it out in the form of a sound pattern. So every linguistic sign should have a sound that and each alphabet sound and the combination of a few alphabet in a particular sequence is what make words. Okay, that is what that. This is an entirely psychological phenomenon. So you are thinking and attaching your concept to some signs, whatever you are trying to put into the ears of the other person. This is entirely a psychological process, followed in turn by a physiological process. So you think of the concept, and after the concept is ready, you attach it to the linguistic sign. That is all psychological. Then physiological process, that is the brain transmits to the organs of phonation an impulse corresponding to the pattern. So organs of phonation, I told you, vocal organs, our teeth, our tongue, our lips, and all these are organs of phonation. So whatever concept you have thought of, and you attach it to a particular sign, and then you utter. This is phonation. Say for example, I am thirsty. I am thinking of asking you to bring a glass of water. Then though we never gave thought of this, the thought of the process, the psychological process that went, and also physiological process that went on in behind our uttering a single word. Okay, water, I'm thirsty. My mind should know that. Okay, see, mentally retarded or differently abled or kids can't even ask what they want. So that means they can't have this psychological part very in a proper manner. So I want this. So my mind get thinks of that, and I have to attach that concept of water, and then I have to utter water. Okay. So these sounds. Then what happens? My brain transmits to the organs of phonation, and I will utter. Then what happens when I uttered? Then sound waves are sent from A's mouth to B's ear. So what happens when I say water? It travels in the air and comes to your ear. A purely physical process. This is a physical process. I told you know how sound travels in the air is physics. Next, the circuit continues. After that, the circuit continues in B. In the opposite order, from for me, from brain to to my phonation organs, to brain to the concept reading, and then phonation. In the reverse manner, it goes. What goes here? Then from ear to brain, the physiological transmission of the sound pattern. In the brain, the psychological association of this pattern with the corresponding concept. If B speaks in turn, this new act will pursue from his brain to A's exactly the same course as the first, passing through the same successive phases, which we may represent as follows. So here the speech circuit is given. See there in the circuit that is drawn, you have C and S, C corresponding to the concept, S corresponding to the sound pattern, hearing and vocalization, vocalization and hearing. So this analysis makes no claim to be complete, but Saussure is saying that we cannot say that this completes this speech circuit. One could go on to distinguish the auditory sensation itself. We can attach some more to it also. The auditory sensation itself. The identification of that sensation with the latent sound pattern. The patterns of muscular movement as associated with the phonation and so on. So actually, how we are able to speak is an entirely another branch of study. How we are able to think and associate with the science, it is entirely another branch of study. So this is what Saussure is telling. We have included only those elements considered essential. But here he says that he's not going to talk about the other aspects because we are going to confine to the linguistic structure. And that is why he says we only those elements consider here. We are considering only those elements which are considered essential. But our schematization enables us straight away to separate the parts which are physical from those which are physiological. So, but the circuit that Saussure has given, of course, draws us to the schematization or division of two things, which is physical and physiological. Physical is sound waves, and physiological is phonation and hearing. Physiological is pertaining to the body part. parts, and those which are psychological. The psychological are the sound patterns of words and the concepts, etc. It is particularly important to note that the sound patterns of the words are not to be confused with actual words. So sound patterns should not be confused with the actual words. The word patterns are psychological, just as the concepts associated with them are. So word patterns are also psychological because it is we feed our brain with that word patterns. So the circuit is as here represented may be further divided. He says the circuit can be further divided into three parts. There you can see one external part, a psychological and a non-psychological part, and then into an active part and a passive part also. So again, he's saying the external part is like sound vibrations passing from mouth to ear, etc. And an internal part is comprising all the rest. Okay, sound going to ear and ear to brain, etc. And then psychological and non-psychological. Later come no non-psychological comprising both the physiological facts localized in the organs and the physical facts external to the individual, and into an active and passive part, the former comprising everything which goes from the association center of one individual to the ear of the other, and the later comprising everything which goes from an individual's ear to his own association center. This is nothing but speaker and listener. Okay, active is speaker, listener is passive. You know LSRW skills also. You listening is passive skill. That is how you divide the skills. No, so here you can connect it. Finally, in the psychological part, localized in the brain, one may call everything which is active, that is executive, C to S, that is concept to the sound pattern, and everything which is passive, that is receptive, sound pattern to the concept. So in addition, one must allow for a faculty of association and coordination which comes into operation as soon as one goes beyond individual signs in isolation. It is this faculty which plays the major role in the organization of the language as a system. So, besides all this, we have this association and coordination. You know, that is why I stated, no, language is a collective activity. If living in a linguistic community, if you think that or if you say that I don't want to follow your code, what happens is chaos. That means you cannot communicate with others, or people can't understand what you are saying. So, say for example, we have different words like, you know, when I say kika, kika, did you understand anything? Respond. Kika.
No, ma'am.
So why you can't understand this? Because that system is not there in our language. Actually, I want to say kaki. I wanted to say kaki. When I say kaki, you can understand because we belong to one linguistic group, and the system in our communication pattern or language, which we call as language, is this. So that is why when I say kaki, you can understand. Pichuka, you can understand. Pilli, you can understand. But if I reverse the order, what happens? You cannot. So this is what is association and coordination. You have to coordinate, okay, and associate with others. So that is what he says. This goes beyond individual signs. See, that is why learning a language is learning a language, especially a second language, is very difficult because that is not there in your environment, your linguistic environment. So, but your mother tongue, of course, you learn as it is because you are exposed to that. Your environment is that, etc. So here, actually, association and coordination are very important. And he says that this plays a major role. in the organization of language as a system. So language is not a individual science like we have A, B, C, D, like I, E, like that. No, it is a comprehensive system. That is what he says. But in order to understand this role, one must leave the individual act. See, I said no. Now, language is an act of community. Okay. So here, Saussure is also saying that to understand language as a system, you have to leave language as an individual act, which is merely language in embryo, and proceed to consider the social phenomenon. This is structuralism. So, considering language as a system is nothing but structuralism. Language is a structure. Okay. This is what Saussure's ideas were fundamental to the development of structuralism because of this only. He says that language is a social structure, and all signs are a part and parcel of this structure. If you want to understand those signs in isolation or without this structure or out of this structure, you may not be able to guess any sense out of that. So this is how he says that language is a structure, a social phenomenon. All the individuals linguistically linked in this manner will establish among themselves a kind of mean. All of them will reproduce, doubtless not exactly, but approximately the same signs linked to the same concepts. See, language pronunciation is unique, but association and coordination is one and the same that goes on among the members of a linguistic community or linguistic group, whatever you say. So he says all the individuals linguistically linked. So they are linked. We, the Telugu speaking people or English speaking people, whoever they are linked. Okay, they are of course we are connected in some way, and in this manner will establish among themselves a kind of mean. All of them will reproduce. We will reproduce our sounds, but doubtless not exactly. This is where the pronunciation, what you say, standard pronunciation, actually even Saussure has mentioned that standard English, standard pronunciation, etc., of course may not happen, though we try to pronounce as the other do or what, but it varies because the arrangement of our vocal organs, etc., though is similar to the superficial level, is not similar 100%. That is why our speech variants, okay, occur. The pronunciation variation occurs, and Saussure is also trying to point out to that. Doubtless not exactly, but approximately the same sound, the same signs linked to the same concept. Of course, signs and linking the concept is similar. And what is the origin of this social crystallization? So he is asking a question again. Social crystallization. What is crystallization? Means it becomes frigid or rigid in the form, because when I said no, khaki, the concept is fixed. It's crystallized. Pichuka, okay, like that. Each sign and the concept or signifier, signified concept, this it was crystallized. So what is the origin? He is questioning. Which of the parts of the circuit is involved? And he is questioning. He has given a circuit. So if you go to the circuit, why it is crystallized, or what is the origin of this crystallization, and where lies the crystallization in this circuit? The same, for it is very probable that not all of them are equally relevant. So they are not equally relevant. Where it lies, the signs and concepts, etc. The physical part of the circuit can be dismissed from consideration straight away. Physical part can be dismissed. When we hear a language, we do not know being spoken. We hear the sounds, but we cannot enter into the social reality of what is happening because of our failure to comprehend. When if you listen to French, or if you listen to, of course, other German or Japanese language, etc., Latin, etc., the physical part take place. But can you comprehend anything out of that? That is what he is saying. So this crystallization will not happen at the physical part. The psychological part of the circuit is not involved in its entirety either. So he is trying to bring the relevance of one part, one after the other. Now he comes to, after physical, he comes to the psychological. Of course, he says that it is also not entirely, what do you say, responsible for this crystallization. The executive side of it plays no part, and for execution is never carried out by the collectivity. It is always individual, and the individual is always master of it. This is what we shall designate by the term speech. So this part he says the speech. Execution means you are speaking out. Of course, this is speech. The individual's receptive and coordinating faculties build up a stock of imprints which turn out to be, for all practical purposes, the same as the next person's. So now he says that the individual's receptive and coordinating faculties. So what you receive, the sound waves, and coordinate with the corresponding sign to that concept, that is a sign, signifier, and signifier. He says, build up a stock of imprints which turn out to be, for all practical purposes, the same as the next person's. So if two people are from one linguistic group only, this takes place. How must we emphasize this social product so that the language itself can be seen to be clearly distinct from the rest? So this is the this coordinating faculty of all imprints, etc., is the social side of the language. Now he is questioning, how must we envisage this social product? How to envisage, how to explain this, so to remove this from all other aspects. If we could collect the totality of word patterns stored in all those individuals, we should have the social bond which constitutes their language. Of course, he says that if we could collect the totality of word patterns stored in all those individuals, we should have the social bond which constitutes their language. Language is a social bond. Of course, we say that language is not a mere communication tool. It is also culture. It is also a heritage. Okay. Of course, we take pride in it, and it is a fund accumulated by the members of the community. So Sajur is saying that language is a fund that is acquired by the members of the community through the practice of speech. A grammatical system existing potentially in every brain. A grammar that exists in our brain. We need not learn the grammar. Or more exactly, in the brain of a group of individuals. To be specific, he says that it exists in the in the brains of group of individuals. For the language is never complete in any single individual, but exists perfectly only in the collectivity. So language is not individual. Speech is individual. Language is collective. This is what he names as lang and parole. Okay. By distinguishing between the language itself and speech, we distinguish at the same time what is social from what is individual, and what is essential from what is ancillary and more or less accidental. So for him, physical is ancillary. Of course, psychological, of course, it should take place. Okay. And accidental also. So The language itself is not a function of the speaker. It is the product passively registered by the individual. It never requires premeditation, and reflection enters into it only for the activity of classifying to be discussed below. So language is different. Language as a system, that is parole, he says. And then he now, beginning with his questions, he is trying to differentiate between language at the individual level and language as a system or a phenomena, as a structure. So at the individual level, it is speech, that is lang, and as a system and as a structure, it is parole. That is what he is discussing further in the essay regarding speech, etc., which we will continue in the next class. I hope you understood what I have discussed till now. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay
No,
then.
ma'am.
Okay. I told Chandu to give me names of specializations. Some of you should enter in on, if you take 13 or 14 take women's writing and 4 or 5 take ELT, it is not possible to offer. Please discuss with other students also and see that 50-50 comes, at least 10-9 or 10-8 like that, 11-8 like that. Okay, discuss with your friends and finalize the names and give, because for conducting examinations, actually the minimum number for any specialization is 10, but you are 19 only, so that is a problem. At least we should make 10 plus 9 or 11 plus 8 like that. You please discuss this with your friends also and let me know. I am closing the session. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.